All right, you can talk because I got to fix this thing.
Oh no, well, welcome back, guys. We took care of the problem again. Apologize. So I just want to say, hopefully everybody's tuning in. I had a friend that said she was gonna tune in, so hopefully you watching. So if you are, as we always say at the beginning of the podcast, like, subscribe, and leave a comment. So if you guys want to chime in on any comments you have or questions or whatever, please do. That's why we do this. Like I always say every week, we want our interaction. This is something, a platform for everybody to speak their mind and express themselves. And I believe, firm believer in, that's how you learn each other, is by talking and giving your point of views and your perspective. So that's why we're doing this. So everybody can chime in. It's not just us sitting here doing all the talking, which we are because we do the podcast, but we also want that interaction. So I just want to say that, and always thank you to our loyal, faithful watchers. You know who you are. Thanks for always watching us. I appreciate it. That's much gratitude, because I always say, even if it's one person watching, that's one person that we're, I ain't gonna say changing there, but we're giving them a perspective that they might not have thought of or looked at. So that's why we do this, and I love doing it. So on that note, chime in, guys. Let's get some feedback.
All right, so hopefully everybody came back. Like I said, we just had to fix the technical difficulties that we had going on. So as you can see, we outside in the elements. I wanted to bring a different aspect to it today. So hopefully everybody's enjoying the beautiful scenery in the back. I'm at my humble home, so new home that I'm loving so far.
Yes, it's beautiful. Beautiful.
But yeah, so just getting back to what we're talking about, the topic as far as um, is it a punishment or is it a lesson? So I kind of go both ways on this one, and not to come from a pessimistic perspective. Sometimes I think I do. Seem like I'm always coming from pessimistic perspective, but that's just my perception. And like I said, that's where I'm at in my life right now. I see things from a different lens from probably most people. So it may sound pessimistic and negative, but it actually isn't. I'm just seeing things, like I said, for what they are, not for what I think they are. If that makes sense.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
No, I just like, no, that makes 100%. I get you. I understand.
All right. So I do believe that majority of the times, a lot of things that we go through is probably a combination of both a punishment and a lesson. And that's just because I truly believe that we actually do manifest our reality. And depending on rather how we think, consciously, subconsciously, the environment we're around, how we were raised when we were children, will definitely have a major factor as far as if we do actually things that we're experiencing in life is a punishment. Now, I know I already know somebody out there is thinking, so what about children? Most people believe children are innocent, they don't do anything wrong. So, like, say, for example, if a child gets murdered, they get abused by their parents, whatever the case is, they're completely innocent. So, they didn't do anything wrong. So,
Right.
why is that a punishment for them
Right.
if they, completely innocent
Yeah.
to the situation? Now, that's where it gets tricky because from that sense of them being innocent and just being a child, I can't see that as a punishment for them. It could be more of a lesson, and that even in itself may sound a little weird because why should a child have to go through
Right.
punish, bad things as far as whether it's being abused
Right.
verbally, physically, whatever the case is? Why would a child have to experience that to learn
Mm-hmm.
something? Unfortunately, it's just the world I believe that we do live in, and rather if it's a negative environment or a positive environment, because that child is still under their parents, they're going to have to learn something. Yeah, that
Mm-hmm.
makes sense. Because in life, we all, regardless what age we are, is going to have to go through things that we have to learn.
Yeah.
It's always, I believe, there's a lesson in everything that we do.
Yeah.
Now, again, with the children, that's a touchy one because the innocence of a child is kind of hard to comprehend of them being punished for something that they basically didn't do. Now, if a child is jumping up and down and doing stuff they shouldn't be doing and
Right.
being disruptive, then of course punishment should come behind that. So in a sense, you can say if a child is doing something they shouldn't be doing, so the punishment will come and the lesson will come as well. Whether you spank the child, put them in timeout, take stuff away from them, there's still punishment and it's still a lesson at the same time. So from that perspective, again, we all go through punishment and a lesson in life, regardless what ages we are. So hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean that makes a lot of sense. Actually, so I'm gonna go one further and again piggyback what you were saying. I would say the same thing because I know there's a lot of women that would say, "What about women that's abused or raped?" I would say that goes along the same line. Like it's not a woman's fault for a guy that's going to want to take advantage of a woman and do something like that. So again, like you said, what lesson would a woman have from that that deserve to have to endure that? Unfortunately, like you said, whatever something reason you have to have that lesson, you learn from it. But that's the flip side. That's why double-edged sword, so to speak. The person that's doing it is the one that's going to get punishment later in life. The one
Mm.
that's the actual abuser of the kids, of the woman. So it is kind of crazy in a way that even though one's getting the stuff done to them, the one that's doing it at some point in life, hopefully they're going to get punished. And unfortunately, the one that's getting it is getting a lesson. Like you said,
Right.
somewhere in there is a lesson. Like you said, everything happens. It's a lesson to be learned from that. So I agree with that. So I'm gonna say this though: there's certain things where I can't say it's out of your control, but it's somewhat like you said with the kids, the women being abused. I would say something as simple as if you're in the store, you have someone that's just disrespectful, that had a bad day, that just go off on you, and you like, what did I do to deserve that
Hmm.
that type of disrespect? And you're like, what lesson am I learning from that? Besides, this person is an asshole or just rude, So I'll say, in a sense, what I'm trying to say is, you may be there, unfortunately, for the other person to get a lesson out of what
Right.
they're doing or punishment, because whatever they're doing, at some point, the old saying goes, what goes around comes around. Well, as you say,
Right.
what you put out to the energy or the universe is going to come
Right.
back on you at some point. So I feel like it's a 360 at some point. Everything we do is going to cycle back to you regardless.
Hmm.
And lessons be learned can make you a stronger individual. It give you a better perspective on life. So even though something dramatic or traumatic like that can happen, at some point it could change your whole mindset on how you view life. Or you could be a support mechanism for somebody or mentor for somebody
Right.
else that goes through that. Because
Hmm.
you're stronger what you went through to where you could push through, but the next person may not. So you could be there for them to help guide them. So that could be a lesson in that,
Hmm.
is where it makes you stronger to help the ones that may not be as mentally strong as you to get through it. So I think that's where a lesson would be learned from that, where it's going to help you change your way
Hmm.
on how you go through life. So I definitely agree. It's a thin line. It's definitely a
Yeah.
double. I would always say double-edged sword, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's crazy. More and more I think about it, because there's a lot of things I've done
Hmm.
in the past, and then stuff come back, and I always say that, damn, that's just punishment for
Right.
something that I did back in the day. And sometimes I always say, nah, that's just me making wrong decisions. But now I'm coming to the point where, yeah, it comes back.
Yeah.
Like you said the other day when you was talking today, actually about giving money and how that's energy, and the universe
Yeah.
gives it back.
Hmm.
I'm a sole believer now more than ever. It's the same thing with the things we do in life. It may not come back to you in a year, but at
Hmm.
some point, something you did, positive or negative,
Hmm.
is going to come back in a good way or a bad way, like you said. So you can learn that
Yeah.
lesson.
All right. Now I want to use an example. So this is Kiara. Hopefully, I don't know if you're looking, watching or not. So forgive me if I'm putting your information out there, your business. But that's why sometimes it's good for us just to sit back and listen and observe, opposed to always talking.
Mm.
So I was just observing and listening to y'all talk yesterday. And I thought it was beautiful that she came to the realization as far as with her pageantry. And I wanted to say something, but like I said, I was just listening. And I thought it was wonderful that she came to the realization like, well, is this, I don't think she said profitable, but is this worth me
Mm-hmm.
keep doing this?
Right.
What am I gaining from this?
Mm-hmm.
One, just taking a lot of money away. And what actually even I'm getting from this?
Mm.
So I'm just, breaking it down, kind of paraphrasing what she said. But what I've got from that is, I don't know if she realized that what she went through with the pageantry, and she did say that it did help her as far as it made her grow as a person.
Mhm.
So that's the other side of like what we going through in life.
Right. I
Is
get
it a lesson or a punishment? So I
Right.
think that's a perfect example
Yes.
of a lesson.
Right.
You know, she's been doing it for about 3 or 4 years. You know, she made runner up, not runner up, but she made top 5 one time. So to get to that point to where it's like, I know I'm not, if not the best, one of the best, I definitely should have been in top 5 or runner up. So with all that, I'm gonna say failure, with all the defeat and her not winning, there was a lesson to be learned. And I think she finally learned that lesson to where she's like, okay, is this really feasible for me to keep doing this? But even in all that, it still, helped me grow as a person. And I did learn some things, along the way. I met some people. She was able to network and so forth. So basically, what I'm getting to is the lesson in that was she knows what the lesson is, what she learned from it.
Exactly.
So that's my example of there's always whatever we're going through, everybody's going through something at this point in time in their life. And that's what we have to ask ourselves. Is it a punishment or is it a lesson? And that's going to be up to us or that individual person
Right.
to determine what it is. Is this a lesson that I'm getting from this, or this a punishment from something I may have said or did in the past? In my opinion, it has to be one of the two. It's no in between.
Right.
So for people, anyone that's watching, if you're going through anything, whether it's positive or negative, if it's more negative and you feel as though it's a punishment, like you just said, like, why is this happening to me? What did I do?
Yeah.
So even if it is a punishment, take it, still learn from it so that way you don't have to come back to that again. And if it's a lesson, same thing. Take it, accept it, be in the moment with it, embrace it, and then move on and then continue to ascend. So I think it's a beautiful thing, and that's what I'm beginning to learn is anything that I'm going through, I have to look at it either as a punishment
Yeah.
or a lesson.
Right.
And which one it is, I just have to embrace it, deal with it for this short season that I'm going through, and then just, go through the next challenge, whatever it is that comes up.
Right.
Now, this is something I always say. It helped me get through situations. If I'm going through something, and this is a Bible quote or church quote, this will not last. And that helps me. Like when I was out here digging up the damn trees and stuff, it was hot as hell. It was like 90 something degrees. The humidity was high.
Uh-huh.
And I think it was this too will end, or this too will not last. There's
Right.
something to that extent. I can't think of it now. But anyway, it gets me through whatever situation I'm going through. And that's why I look at it. If it's a punishment, this too will not last. At some point, it's going to end. I just have to figure out what it is. If it's a lesson, figure out what it is. But if it's a punishment, if I know I did something,
Right.
I just have to say, you know what? I was wrong. I just got to take it.
Right. Yeah, that's 100% dead on. So I'm a dare I say this, but it could be both.
That's it. I'm sorry.
Right.
Thank you, KJ. She said, this too shall pass. That's it.
Oh, okay.
That's my favorite saying right now. I always say, this too shall pass.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember me saying that, or that's something that the church says that you just picked up on. But
Well,
anyway,
that's true though. Everything is temporary. But I was going to say this though. Can it be both at the same time? Meaning,
Yeah.
it could be a punishment and a lesson. Because I'm gonna lean more towards like what you say with Kiara is like 100% dead on. Like that's a perfect way to put it as far as getting a lesson in life or what are you doing.
Mhm.
But obviously, if you do something wrong, you know it's going to be a punishment. Because if you know what you did, and again, if it happened years later, you got to realize, okay, this was probably the wrongdoings that I've done. But still, even with that being said, the lesson being learned from that punishment. So I feel like they both coincide at the same time, depending on, like you said, the individual, whatever it is they was going through or dealing with. And I think that's how each person individually had to reference to it. So it's kind of obvious that everybody goes through things, right? Like you said a minute ago. So for me, a lot of mistakes I've done when I sit back and look is just self sabotage.
Mm-hmm.
So the consequences I deal with, like you said, I know it's going to pass, but I'm at the point where I realize, yep, it's what I did. I knew it was going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
It just didn't happen when I thought it was going to happen, but I realized what I've done. So now it's just time to move on and learn from that. So
Mm-hmm.
I totally agree with what you said about the lessons, and I believe just good lessons to be learned too. Not everything is a punishment, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like you said, with Kiara's the perfect one. With me, where I'm at in my life right now, in the transition I'm making, I feel like that's more of a lesson from the things that's acting out in
Mm-hmm.
my life right now. But in the past, though, I know a lot of stuff that I dealt with is because it's just
Mm-hmm.
irresponsibility, what I'm use it as. But the punishment had to come with
Right.
that, and because of the punishment, the lesson came right behind it. So I would just say, like you just said, that everybody goes through something, and that's a perfect phrase. Is everything that you're going through shall pass.
Yeah.
And I always say, to me, I always say this is only temporary. That's
Right.
just my saying, but that's true though. But I mean, to me, it's always going to come down to conscious awareness. Uh, some people beat themselves up when stuff happens,
Right.
and they kind of blame themselves too much, if that makes sense. Where they didn't really do anything wrong, but it's
Right.
just unfortunate situations. I think that's a
Mm-hmm.
dynamic we have to be aware of too. Certain things they may happen, you may not have done that wrong, but again, like you said earlier, it's a lesson to be learned for whatever you did do in that moment. It could be something that you picking up from that. And I love that saying with the kids. I'm gonna go back to that because I feel like that could make you a better person
Mm-hmm.
and make you be a spokesperson or advocate for abused kids
Right.
or abused women or alcoholics. If you're
Yeah.
an alcoholic at once upon a time in life, you become more aware that this is not
Mm-hmm.
good. So let me be a person that speaks at AA meetings. Because I'm gonna say this and I'm gonna let you go. When Jay passed, and the way he passed was from because alcohol and
Right.
because he consumed so much of it.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lesson that I was learned from someone else.
Right.
So you can learn lessons from watching someone else go through something. Because after that, not saying I was ever an alcoholic, but I've realized that I had drinking. What is that doing for me?
Right.
And I ain't saying nothing against anybody that drink, to each his own. Everybody have their reasons. For me personally, I'm speaking. I was drinking too much. I was drinking like every day. I'm like, why am I doing this for what?
Mm-hmm.
What am I getting out of it? So I learned my lesson is I'm not going to use that as my outlet for whenever I'm
Mm-hmm.
happy, sad, bored, whatever the reason. I said I can't keep doing that. So that was a lesson that I learned from watching it happen to somebody else.
Yeah. So I just want to. I know we can't speak for a person that's in a situation where they feel as though, like we kind of mentioned before, there's nothing they did, but they feel like they're being punished, and they out there saying like, "Well,
Right.
what did I do? I'm a
Right.
good person." And I'm pretty sure you heard somebody say it. I'm a good person.
Yeah.
Go to church. I pray.
Yep.
Why is this stuff happening to me?
Yep.
Why am I being punished? And those are the people that I'm speaking to, and those are the people. This is what this topic is about. Is even if you are being punished literally, or you just feel as though you're being punished, it goes back to me is cause and effect, like you say sometimes. We are the manifestors of our lives. We are the ones that, again, some people may push back on this, that dictates as far as what happens in the future or what happens tomorrow. I know it's kind of hard for some people to grasp, and I know it seems like every week I'm picking on Christians and stuff like that, but I'm really not. For some Christians, from my perspective and my observation, and I can speak on it because I was one, and I was actually really, really into
Yeah,
it.
you was. Yes, you was.
So I feel as though I'm qualified to speak on it. Now, for those people that believe that God is the director of their lives, and you see it, athletes always say, "Well, I thank God
Yeah.
this happened because of God," and
Mm-hmm.
whatever the case is. I'm not pushing back on anybody's belief. That's just not my belief. I used to believe that, but I don't anymore because for me, that questions or raises a question. So if something bad in your life do happen, not necessarily saying you have to blame God, but if something do happen, then was that meant to happen? Is he trying to teach you something, or you're not doing something you're not supposed to be doing? Because from my mindset, if you're following God and you're praying and you're doing all the things you're supposed to, then why do you feel as though I need to go through punishment? A lesson, yes, but why punishment? So that's just something I thought about. I was like, that's seemed kind of contradictory to me. It doesn't make sense to me. If I'm doing something right in my mind, somebody else might sit back and say, no, you're doing this wrong. But in my mind, if I feel as though I'm doing everything right, but yet I still feel as though I'm getting punished, then why am I being punished if I'm not doing anything wrong? So the only reason why I said that is because I just wanted people to think when you say stuff like that, then in my opinion, you shouldn't be complaining. You shouldn't say you feel as though you're being punished, because if God is truly leading your life and everything is because of him, then whatever you're going through was meant to happen and he wants you to go through it. So you shouldn't be complaining. So I'm just saying, why are you complaining, saying, why am I being punished? This isn't fair. Suck it up. Say, okay, God, you're leading me. You're directing me. You know what's good for me. So that's nothing for me to complain about. So that's, in my opinion, one way to look at it, and just something to think about. But what I wanted to say, as far as for those people, like I said, that feel as though they were being punished for nothing that they did wrong. So how do they actually not respond, but how do they actually deal with, okay, this is not a punishment, there's actually a lesson behind it. Now, I'm just going to say this real quick and want to get your perspective on it. I don't know if you watched the episode of Pivot with Kirk Franklin.
No, I missed that.
No, I watched it. It was good. I didn't know he was an orphan.
Oh,
Like his
wow.
parents, I believe he said they died or something like that, or
Yeah.
they was alcoholics, but he was actually raised by someone else.
Oh, wow.
And he was saying that he never experienced love. Like no one ever gave him compliments and stuff like that. So he went through a very challenging
Right.
childhood.
Yeah.
But the point I'm getting to, Ryan asked him, so would you change what happened to you as a child, if it came back to you? He said, no, because I wouldn't be who I am today.
That's a good point.
And then this is the thing that was really, really profound. So they always ask that question. So what was your pivot in life?
Yeah. Yeah.
And he said, my pivot in life wasn't me. It was a person that took me in, because she made me Kirk Franklin. That was a pivot. She was a pivot because she changed my life.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. Like sometimes a punishment is not truly a punishment.
Right.
It's a lesson in that. But it just seems like it's a punishment at the
At
time,
that time, yeah.
because you seem like you're completely innocent.
Right.
So that's in my way of saying to people that feel as though, why am I going through what I'm going through? I did nothing wrong. I'm a saint. And so I shouldn't be punished. So I'm just saying, just look at it from a different perspective, and maybe, something will resonate within, and you can see, okay, this is why this is happening.
Well, I mean, shit, I can't back that up, because that's pretty much it in a nutshell. Like that, how you ended that with the pivot and perfect example. You kind of went further what I was saying, as far as when something bad happened, you can get something positive out of it. So I'm not going to go any more into that, because I think you pretty much touched it to where it's perfectly put out there. So I'm going to just...
Who's Tina Taylor? Is that your friend?
That might be. Sorry. But I'm going to relate to a movie. And this movie, I like the premises of it, even though it's a gory, crazy behind movie. So when the movie I said, y'all know what I'm talking about, look past the gore in it, but the message what I always looked at. And I think this correlates just a little bit about what we're talking about today. And it's the movie Saw. If you saw the Saw movie. No, I know
I
y'all
can't
like...
wait to hear this.
No, I know y'all thinking, how does that have to do anything about what we talk about? If you really sit there and think for a minute, what was the premises of that guy, the old guy? If you notice, even though you may say that's a horrible way to punish somebody, but as far as making you think about things you have done, because if you think about all the people he tortured, it was a crash effect, meaning everybody affected another person's life in some kind of way. It was the moment where the one dude saw the doctor in there where he cut the life support and he didn't say anything.
Right.
He just took off and left it to for that guy to die.
Mm-hmm.
And then he made him come to kind of face his demons and say, remember what when you saw that happen and you didn't do nothing? How do you feel about yourself? He gave him a chance to live or die because of a bad choice he made. So
Right.
where I'm going with this is I feel like where this correlates parallel what we're talking about is lessons can be learned on things that we do that we don't realize that could affect other people's lives. That's why I was saying
Right.
earlier, like you was alluding to, where Kirk Franklin. So I feel again, I'm just gonna harp on that because I'm a firm believer that cause and effect is things that we do in life, lessons that we create for ourselves by decisions that we make. So now you may say, who's going to really be thinking about something like that in the moment? I mean, that's the key. That's why I always tell my kids, play it like it's a movie. If you're going to do something, play it out like what they call foreshadow. See what's going to happen down the road.
Mm-hmm.
If it comes out, the outcome is not good, a premonition, if you want to say, and you still do it, then you're going to know it's going to be some kind of punishment and it's going to be a lesson from that because the decisions you chose to make. Now, I'm speaking primarily on people that's making bad decisions, not what people that's been done to. I think you touched that enough, so I'm not going to mess with that. Now, I'm speaking on the other aspect, on people that know what they're doing, because I feel like we can't ignore that and just make it seem like everybody's just good and nobody's doing wrong. I think a lot of us, we got to admit it, that we do make some bad decisions, and that's where blessings do come to us that we do get punishment for. Because I feel like we have to own both aspects of this conversation. So I feel like that's one scenario is in certain situations that we are in the moment. We can go right or left, and we choose to go left instead of right, and that's when you get your lesson, which is in reality a punishment for it. And that's where you learn from it. Again, like I stated in the beginning, we all should learn, good or bad, on situations that we created. Because I feel like every situation, other than what we talked about, the abuse, we're going to leave that out because we already know that. But I'm speaking now solely on things we are aware of what we're doing, that we know, even a career. It could be a career choice. It don't have to be something detrimental. It could be if you know you had a job that probably would suit you better, but you took another one for the money or whatever, and now the consequence of that job got you stressed out. You always working. You just hate it. That was the consequence. The lesson is if you'd have took the other one that probably wasn't the greatest pay, but have been more beneficial for you and your career, that's the punishment, and a lesson learned. So that's why I was saying earlier, it touches all aspects of our lives, not just a particular one. I feel like everything we do is always, obviously, clearly going to be some kind of lesson and punishment behind
All right, so now this is going to be an interesting one because you kind of mentioned it earlier. So, what about somebody that's ill? And I know you mentioned that sometimes it could be hereditary.
it. Mm-hmm.
And you know some people, I know some people that have a whole bunch of
Mm-hmm.
illnesses within them.
Right.
So, for that person, and they sit back and they look at other people and they can see them doing something, well, that's not fair. Why this person can eat and do whatever
Right. Right.
and nothing happens to them? They don't
Right.
have XYZ. So rather the person might admit it or not, I know some people are saying, well, why? Is this a punishment? What did I do? Like, why am I being punished that I'm with this
Right.
and this person not? And they clearly
Yeah.
abusing it, whereas you may have not been abusive with it, but it's like,
Mm-hmm.
damn, why I have
Yeah.
to have cancer? Like, why I have to have diabetes or sickle cell, whatever the case is.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not even going to speak on that because I can't even imagine
Right.
what that would feel like. You know, I always every day when I do my little gratitude, that's the first one of the things I put on there. Thankful for my good health because I can't imagine living with something like that daily, and you seeing other people being able to do whatever they want freely. And some people may not admit it. Like I said, me personally, I would probably say, "Damn, why am I with this? Why am I being punished?
Mm-hmm.
Why was I punished with this?" So I think it's kind of challenging, depending on what it is, to
Mm-hmm.
just tell somebody, yeah, it's a lesson out of it. Because if somebody have that, what lesson can you truly get out of that? Other than you being the advocate, you know, for
Yeah.
people. But at the same time, you still got to deal with it. You know, I see
Yeah.
some people that have children and, you know, they have cerebral palsy or they have
Mm-hmm.
some type of
Yeah.
disability. And now for the rest of their lives,
Mm-hmm.
their caregivers. Not which nothing is wrong with that because
Yeah.
that's your child, but they don't have the same lifestyle or may not have the same lifestyle as somebody that don't have to deal with that. So how do you tell that person it's a lesson out of
Right.
that?
Shit,
To them it
I
might
don't,
feel like
yeah.
it's a punishment.
Yeah, I don't think you can. I don't think you have the right to tell that person. I know you might use it for words of encouragement, but I'm gonna use two people example. One of us is it touches us in our own family. First one is our nephew. He was born in his situation. I think he would be perfect to speak on
Oh
this
yeah,
because both parties can actually speak on that when you think about it.
Yeah.
How does the mom feel? Does she feel she done something wrong and punished
right.
because her son is
That's good.
handicapped for the rest of his life? And for me, I'm not going to speak on it like you said. I will only ask him because he's always with me. He's presented himself like he handles it well. I don't never see him acting like he's disappointed. He's depressed. He never acts like it's a burden to everybody that he's that way. I always
Right.
admired him about that. I always told him, nephew, I admire your mental strength. Now again, in closed doors, who knows? He might
Right.
be, but how he presents himself in front of us, to me, I always told him and I always gave him praise. I respect you because that's something I could never imagine. Because you watch us play basketball, sport, everything, and he's just sitting there watching. He's always had the best attitude. He asked me about working out. Uncle, why you do something about working out? So he just me. He always present himself well. I don't think he will ever look at it as punishment. He probably has, I'm sure. Like you said, I don't want to speak too much on that because that's something only that individual can speak on. But I just wanted to say that because I feel like he's a perfect example in my eyes that someone that maybe not always use it every day, look at it as a punishment, but look at it, maybe the lesson for him is I'm encouraging other young kids that grew up that way that may not be strong.
Hmm.
And again, I just believe that would be, for me, I would speak on it and try to encourage other people to stay in there and be a support group. That's what I look at. Now, the other one is Jamie Foxx. I don't know if you saw his stand up
Yeah.
that he did. And the reason why I'm bringing him up is he said exactly what you said. He was like, I was asking God, why me? I'm funny. I don't do drugs. And he was just literally saying word for word what you
Yeah.
just said. He said he was being honest and transparent with everybody. He was questioning, I'm Jamie Foxx. And I got what he was saying. I remember I was with somebody and they was like, why would he say that? Like, that's just so selfish. I get what he's saying. He's being real with
Yeah.
everybody, saying, like, why me? Why this happened to me? And I think honestly, most people would probably say the same thing. Like you said, if you feel like you're doing everything right in life, you're gonna ask yourself, why is this coming to me? And he said that. He said, why am I being punished? And then he said at the end somewhere in his stand up, God was telling me it's my time to change my ways of certain things. Now he's getting, well, I don't know if he's gotten religious after that, but he was saying that he had kind of got away from
Yeah.
that. And he said, now I'm coming back. So all that being said, perfect, like you just said, you can't speak on other people that go through stuff that you can only imagine when you're talking about health. For me, when I speak on health, it's people, again, I'm always going to say this, it's people that's aware of their issue. Unless you're born with it, it's a lot of stuff, and I'm big on health because I'm into health. I'm a trainer, so health is wealth is what I always push. When I speak on that, I don't mean just working out in the gym. Being active is being healthy. It's not always just lifting weights. But my point is, if you are aware of something that you can prevent health wise, like you told me, go get your lab work done.
Yeah.
Perfect example, I'm gonna own it right now. If something was to happen for me health wise, that'd be my own fault because I'm not doing everything in my power to keep or prevent that from happening. So I would speak on the health issue unless you was born with it and you know you constantly can change your health. I can't say that. I would say that people feel like that's wrong for them to happen to them because I feel like that's self what's the word I'm looking for? Self sabotage. Because we all know what we can do to change that. I feel like that's something we can change. We just got to be very disciplined and dedicated to
All right. Now I'm gonna take it to a different route, and I have to do this because this is who I am. Now this is for the people, rather somebody's watching or that's going to speak for the community. Like I said, that believes in metaphysics, that believes they're spiritual. Um, and I've actually asked myself this. I was like, God, why did you give me the ability of having consciousness? It is hard to really explain it to people. And that's not saying that I'm better than anybody or anything like that. When someone questions you, is like, well, why? Then for me, you already know that they don't have that same ability, because someone has that same ability is not going to question what you say and what you do. And it's challenging to be in a position as far as somebody that has spiritual gifts that's using it and that has an ability to see what everybody else don't see. It's only a select few of people that that has that ability. And we're always kind of ostracized, and we're always set apart, and we're always looked at different because of what we have and how we see it. Like, I can't come down to how everybody see the world. Like we kind of talk about, everybody got their perception. I can't. I tried. It's something I'm not able to do. So it always put us at a disadvantage, because when you do be your authentic self, most people are not going to accept you, because they're going to see this person as, oh, he think he's better than everybody else, or he's weird. So it kind of puts you in a position to where you don't want to be around anybody. That's why really true spiritual people that has that ability, they kind of separate themselves, and we're always looked at as loners. And it's not that we're loners. It's just that me, I want to protect my energy, but because of the things that we see, it's hard being in an environment when you can see something. And when you speak on it, the first thing people are going to say is, why are you so negative? It's not that I'm negative. You just don't see what I see.
Right.
And so it's challenging. I ask myself sometimes in the past, I'd be like, man, why was I given this? I just want to be, sometimes I said, I want to be normal like everybody else. I don't want to have that gift to see, because when you can see, we're always going to be looked at as too serious, not happy, like I said, pessimistic. And it's not that. We just have the ability to see the world as it is. With all the fake stuff that's out there, all the programming that's going on, that most people can't see it, whereas we can see it, and it's clear as day.
Right.
So it's just challenging. So for those people that's out there, and I've know some that have said that sometimes it feels like it's a punishment, and I'm saying it really does, because you sit back and you're like, well, I want to do with these, but I don't want to care.
Right.
I don't want to not see what's going on and just laugh and have fun. But because we have that ability and stuff, we can't. It's not something we can just turn off. So I'm just speaking for those people that's out there that do have that consciousness, and just in that mindset of, it's not a punishment, it's just a gift that you was given, and we supposed to do something with it. But I just wanted to say that, like I said, for those people that's out there and they have that ability. And I'm going to say this, like Keisha, she's one. She's an empath.
Right.
And I remember, I don't want to put their business out there, but the kid's mom called and was like, I can't connect with Keisha. I can't connect with her. And, she's had an attitude with me, or whatever the case is. I was like, well, it's something you did. That's why she's not dealing with you like that. Because most empaths, like I said, we deal with energy. And as soon as we recognize that negative energy, we disconnect. So it's not that we're being antisocial. It's not that we're so quiet or whatever. There's something wrong with this. We just don't connect with bad energy. We disconnect.
Right.
Keisha used to get migraines and stuff like that because she didn't have anybody in the house to really guide her and educate her on what it is that she has. So I would get her books and stuff like that and give to her to read, so she can recognize and know what it is that she has. There's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
She was just one of the chosen ones.
That's a good. I'm glad you said it. I was going to ask you how you felt about that, having that gift. But I'm glad you said you thought, am I being punished? But then the right word, I would say, well, it is a gift.
Yeah.
Right. But as you going through it, like you said, you trying to figure it out, understand why you're able and capable of seeing and understanding things when others don't. So I would say that's, again, both. And you might have just said that. I think that's, I wouldn't say it's punishment. I would choose gift for you. Right. But I would see the lesson in that too. Again, that's for you to get a platform to reach out to get other people to hear you, so that way y'all can connect. So that, to me personally, would be your lesson, is that you need to have that so you can reach out.
Yeah.
And this is one of the platforms, when we do our podcast, you got somebody that's tuning in, like, oh, he's just like me. Now you have somebody else that can connect. So that would be the lesson, in my opinion, for that situation, but any
Yeah.
individuals that has that. But I'm glad you touched on that because I think when you really sit down and look at it, we all go through certain things
Hmm.
where we question that.
Right.
And my punishment, and I'm glad we're doing this podcast because to me, Matt always picks stuff that I say resonates that's everyday life to
Hmm.
where if you're a thinker and you think about it, I mean deep think, not just gloss over
Right.
it like looking at a cover of a book. I mean like get in there and dig, and it's so deep. Just what we're talking about today, you can sit there and not go crazy or go extreme with it, but just open your mind to like, damn, we do have situations. Is this punishment? Why is it a punishment? Is it a lesson?
Hmm.
What's the lesson for? So this is something for you guys. All I'm saying right now is to really, when you get done with this podcast, is take a moment to really open your mind and listen and understand what this conversation was about. Because it's stuff that's important. I feel like nowadays,
Yeah.
the way life is in society, we need to really connect with ourselves, understand why we're going through what we're going through. And some of the things aren't punishment, and if it is, it's because it's things we have done that kind of cause an effect. So I love this topic, as all of them, but this one again resonates, and it kind of correlates to a lot of stuff that I've been going through personally. So that's where I'm like, it's helping me change because it's making me think more about situations and how I handle stuff. So hopefully you guys is doing the same for you. I just wanted to say that. I just feel like that needed to be said. So
Now that brings up another point too. Now, with all the stuff that's supposed to be happening in the world, I say supposed to because this was being shown to us.
mm,
With all the stuff that's supposed to be happening, do collectively as a society, especially more so religious people, because they the first ones to say, well, see, God is coming back, and this is what was in the Bible. It's going to be floods, rumors of wars, and so forth. So with all the stuff that's going on, is this a punishment against humanity for their sins against God? Now, another thing, I still think about this sometimes. And it's funny because like a lot of the Africans and stuff,
mm,
spirituality, they believe like a lot of the natural events
right.
are the ancestors
Mm,
getting back
okay.
because majority of those locations where that stuff is happening are predominantly white.
Right.
There's very rare, if you really look at it, if you pay attention to where all these natural disasters are happening, they're not in predominantly black neighborhoods other than New Orleans when he had that
But that's
flood.
flood.
But like the hurricanes and tornadoes, where they at? They're mainly Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas. You don't too much hear about Iowa and Wisconsin and stuff. But Florida, you very rare hear anything about something happening in Philly, here in Atlanta.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
Chicago,
saying?
DC,
Chicago,
yeah,
Cincinnati,
right,
Carolina, North Carolina. I mean, you might get stuff here and there. You get a hurricane,
right.
but I'm talking about like really, really bad
Mm-hmm.
national disasters. So it's kind of interesting to me is how some people see that, where
Right,
the biblical and religious people see that as God's punishment
yeah.
against humanity for sinning against His word.
Mm.
So I'm just curious, like, how do people see that? Like, I'm just curious, how do you see that? Do you think, well, damn, is that God punishing people for not doing what they're supposed to be doing?
Yeah, I ain't gonna lie. Once upon a time, I did used to think that way years ago. I was like, that's God punishing us and all the wrongdoing. Like you said, we sinning and we're abusing this earth and we're not taking care of it. So this is a way of God paying us back. But now my perspective is a little different. I got a little bit more understanding of things. Again, I'm gonna sit on this, and this is where I'm gonna own it. And everybody's gonna have their different point of views, which is okay. I feel like everything is a cause and effect. Now, the nature of it aspect, the tornadoes and all that, I just think that's just part of how you go know anything about what is that? I don't want to say geometry, but that correlates to as far as the weather and how that works with the earth and all that. I feel like that's partly just what it is,
Hmm.
just the way the tornadoes are created and all that. But all this other stuff that's how what we're doing against each other. I just feel like that's part of the plan. I don't want to get too deep in that because I feel like it's going off subject. But to answer your question, I don't feel like it's God punishing us. I just feel like it's some of what we created ourselves here on earth. So I feel like that's punishment for the wrongdoings we doing. I will say that. as a cause and effect, I feel like we as the human race, what they've been doing is kind of cause of why we are where we are in society. But I'm not going to get in the religious type because I'm not religious like that, so I'm not going to pretend. So I'm just looking at it from my lens. I feel like this is something that we do as humans and people, the way we handling things. I just feel like that's the reason why we going through what we're going through. Even with the weather, if you want to look at the weather, we have a lot to deal with that too. If you think about how we affect the ozone layer and the air quality, that has a lot to do with manufacturers and all the stuff that's being polluted into the air. So again, air quality is not even the way it should be. So yeah, that's another subject for another day. But yeah, to answer your question, yeah, I think it's punishment, but it's through our own hand. That's why.
Okay, so now I'm going to take it to another aspect, another dimension. Now, for this is for the people that believe in reincarnation and stuff like that. I believe in it. Now, for those that do believe that, knows that in that field or in that what's the word I'm looking for? For those people that believe in reincarnation, they believe in past lives. So they would say if you're dealing with anything that's really, really bad or traumatic, it's past life karma that you're dealing with. So let's say in a past life you was a murderer. So in this life, you're gonna have to deal with the consequences for what you did in your past life. So for those people that's like, man, that just, stuff just can't get right with me. Something's always going on. You just meet someone like, damn, man, something always going on with you. For those that believe in past life, they believe that's past life karma. So whatever you did in your past life comes back to, in your current life. Because as we believe, energy never dies, it just transfers. So once that body, this avatar dies, your spirit is still there because it was within that avatar. So when you come back, whatever avatar you in now, because it's still you within,
Right.
it's just a different avatar.
Yeah.
Now that present avatar is going to have to deal with that karma that you did in your past life. So I do believe that, and I think that's sometimes why I look at things a little bit differently as well. And plus, I was told certain things as far as who I was in my past life and stuff like that, and that's why I am the way I am today. Um, and that's why I always say on here, like, yes, you can experience the 3D stuff only for a time period we're supposed to. That's why I believe 50 and up, you should not be into the 3D stuff. It should be all about your spiritual and, getting yourself right. Because if you don't get yourself right and God forbid something happened to you before you get right, then the belief is you have to come back and do it again because the whole point of us being here is to learn universal love, not this 3D love that people talk about, true universal love. And that's what our mission is because we're spiritual beings just trying to learn what it's like as far as being human. And once you learn that, then you take that universal love and you incorporate that with the human, and that's you display the universal love. So if you don't learn that, guess what? It's just like school.
Yeah.
If you fail, you gotta go back and repeat that grade.
Yeah.
So, and that's why I sit back and I look and observe, and like these people running around and worried about all this stuff. I'm like, you should be worried about your soul if you truly believe that. And even for those in kind of the metaphysics, they don't believe that if that do happen to you, you transfer energy, but you'll come back, but not as and have to deal with the same thing. You're just, back as somebody else.
Right.
So that's just something to think about. Again, that's if you don't believe it, then it's not going to mean anything. It's like, okay, he's just talking again.
Well, I experienced that a couple of weeks ago, so I know firsthand with the energy as far as spirits. We're gonna have a topic, subject about that another time. But yeah, I just firmly believe in that. It took me a minute, but what happened, experiencing that firsthand, yeah. So I do believe in that, in the reincarnation with the spirit moving on to the next. Yeah, that's a good point. Again, again, that's another one where I'm not going to say too much else because it's pretty much explained to where you hopefully you get it. You understand what he just was saying. So I'm
Oh,
not going
that's
to go
tar.
any deep in that. But yeah, I'm just going to keep saying the same thing because I feel like we touched all the aspects of it to the core is pretty much what Matt just said about as far as spirituality, your energy, and understanding what that is, and getting it right while you're here now. And I'm a firm believer in that. Once you understand what you have to do, you should walk in that path the right way. Now, we may make mistakes along the line, but even that, you got to be careful because I feel like that's a detriment, is when we excuse ourselves. Well, mistakes happen. And, I'm a firm believer. If you keep doing the old saying goes, you do it 3 times, that's insanity. For real, I'm a firm believer in that aspect of that comment or analogy because we all should, myself included, should get it after a certain amount of time. You keep doing the same thing, I feel like personally, either you don't care or you just not realizing the consequence behind it. You're just gonna keep doing it. So I just feel like on all aspects of life, we need to focus on that and understand that and know that the only way we're gonna change anything is acknowledging it and actually doing it. Because I'm gonna say this and I'm gonna let you get back. I always say this. The biggest thing that bothers me is I always tell people if you know something or you don't know something and you're trying to figure it out, I get it. But when you know what you're supposed to do and you don't do anything about it, I think you're worse than a person that don't. Because if you know what you have to do and you're not doing anything to change it, then again, either you don't care, obviously you just don't care. But I don't see why else anyone would not want to change something that they are aware of and they know if it's not any good benefits from it. So when people walk around and say they know so much, my question is, what are you doing with that knowledge? I mean, good knowledge is power. You want to share that, but what are you doing to change that within yourself? So for me, when anybody knows something and all you're doing is holding on to it, but you're not doing anything with it, then you kind of self sabotage. You're not really trying to better yourself or grow. If that makes any sense to anybody out there, but that's all I want to say on that. And then I'm gonna let you say what you gotta say.
Okay, so that gets a little tricky, and the reason why I say that is because for me, like I said, I believe that I know how to be an alchemist. I know how to transfer energy,
Mm.
or at least have the knowledge to know how to transfer energy. So it becomes dangerous when you know you have that ability. So sometimes it comes up as not that the person is practicing insanity. It's just that okay, I know I can manipulate my energy. I know I can manipulate
Right.
my future.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're a true manifester,
Right.
you know you can manifest your reality. So it's like I can do what I want to do
Mm-hmm.
because I know I can change this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and I'm going to admit, I'll be transparent. I was like that.
Mm-hmm.
I was arrogant in a sense when I was, married and in Germany and stuff. Like I said, I didn't have the knowledge I have now, but I knew I had an ability.
Mm-hmm.
So I can do what I want to do. I'm like, shoot, I can change this. I can change my situation.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there was certain things that happened. I think the universe is trying to bring me back to
Mm-hmm.
say, look, you may have it, but you still got to be careful because you're going to be reckless
Right.
and crash and burn.
Mm-hmm.
But the point I'm getting to is someone that knows they have that ability,
Mm-hmm.
it's easier for them to continue to do it. Whereas a person on the outside is looking at us like, man, the hell, this person just don't get it. They keep doing it.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm only speaking of the people that know that
Right. Yeah.
they have
Yeah.
that ability.
Right. Yeah.
It's kind of like we was talking about, I think it was today or yesterday. And we was talking about how these jokers get in situations like with Shannon Sharp.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So when you have, and Puffy, you have that money and
Right.
power, I think subconsciously you just think that you're untouchable
Yeah.
because you know you have tools that you can use to get out of any situation you're in.
Mm-hmm.
So in my opinion, I think sometimes that happens to people that know that.
Mm-hmm.
So they tend to just keep doing it because
Right.
they know they have that ability. So that's how I see it. But
Well,
what you said is true though. That
but that's perfect. I'm glad you gave me that segue because now correlate comes back 360 when we just started the topic, the subject about or the show about is lesson and punishment. So what you
Yeah.
just said, I always say, with great power comes great responsibility. So what you being said, that's the punishment because you had a power. But if you use that power in the negative way, you haven't grown, as you say, you haven't
Right.
ascended to your better self. So you need to
Okay.
have a
Yeah.
lesson learned.
Right.
Now you, to me, that's why I say you insanity. Because again, if you know what you're doing, that's my whole point. If you know what you're doing wrong and you're doing it, then you're worse than somebody that don't know. Because to me, you know what you're doing. You're doing it purposely. I always hang my hat on people with intent is the worst type of person because they doing something knowing what they doing. So like you just said, if you knew you had a moment where you can manipulate,
Mm-hmm.
that's fine. But once you learn, like you said you have, that's your lesson that if you keep doing what you're doing, even though you had that great power, it's a consequence for you too. So now your lesson is to be able to be humble and know that you need to use it when it's most feasible. So that's why I'm saying, as far as people that have knowledge, is the worst. Now I'm talking about people that have it but don't use it.
Right.
That's who I'm alluding to. And there's a lot of people out there that has very knowledge of a lot of stuff, but they not doing nothing, even dare I say, in a negative way. But I mean, just not using it at all. They just carry it, but they're not doing anything with it. So that's what I'm speaking on when I say it's not good to know all that and not do anything. Like
Yeah.
you share it, you express it. So for all the knowledge you have and power, you're putting it out there in a positive way. So when I say that, I don't mean like people like you are, because you're not just walking around very intelligent, but you ain't sharing it. You just
Right.
know you smart. That's what I'm talking about. Is people that have it but don't do anything with it in a positive way.
Mm.
To me, that is not good because there's a lot of people that I know personally that's very smart, but they don't do anything. And it's like, well, you in this situation, but you have the knowledge, but you're not doing anything with that knowledge. So that's why I only say that. But you're right. I mean, you got to be careful when you have that and use it in a way to where it's manipulating and taking over. That's not good. You haven't ascended to the better, version of yourself when you're doing that, because that comes with responsibility. So, oh, you cut me off? Oh, you funny man. You got jokes, man. But as long as you ain't boo me, that's fine. If you'd have booed me, I'd have took these headphones off and walked off. No, but that's all I had to say on that. But
Nah, you're right. That's 100% on point. But yeah, I'm just saying that's a challenge.
yeah, I come back.
It really is. Like I was telling you, I think it was last week when I was talking about the lady with the
Hmm.
situation. Like, this is what you gonna do?
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah. So with that, beautiful people, that's gonna bring this episode to a close. Hopefully, everyone enjoyed it. For those that was watching, and we want to thank those that were watching. It looks like um, Tara Taylor. Thank you for joining in.
Hey, what's up, Brooklyn?
KJ as always, and anyone else that chimed in and then chimed out. So y'all enjoy the rest of your day. Um, enjoy this beautiful day. If you're here in Georgia, well, it's clouds out now, but enjoy the rest of the
Yes.
beautiful sun that we do have. Until next week, we got another good topic. So please chime in. And until next time, y'all be good. Remember, your thoughts create your belief, and your belief, you create your own reality. Y'all be good. Peace.
Yeah. You said Tina. I don't know who that was. Oh, it's Tari. Yeah, it looked like